good, man? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast. Hey, everybody. It is Tuesday, the 20th of September. You don't want to know what happens a month from now? It's the first day of the When We Were Hungry Music Festival. And one of my favorite guests of all time is on the podcast today. This guest is also playing the first day of the When We Were Hungry Festival. And my God, we cannot fucking wait. But before we jump into this podcast, I want to thank support for this podcast. First up, let's thank Manscaped, the best in below the belt care for men, for sponsoring this podcast. So you want to make sure that when you're below the belt, you're the best looking and healthy as possible. You don't want to cheap out on your boys down there because they're your boys. They're your pals. They help you out at certain times. They produce certain hormones and reproductive things and all that good kind of stuff. So you want to take care of them the most. You want to make sure they're spick-span, everything's good to go. And that's what Manscaped is here for, to make sure you look good down there. It's smooth down there. Everything looks good. My favorite thing is their crop preserver anti-chafing ball deodorant. So what that stuff basically does is it makes your boys down there smell good, and it prevents chafing. I got big freaking legs. I go to counts all the time. I go mosh like none other person, like nobody else. Like, I see mosh and I'm like, oh yeah, and I stay in there the whole entire time. If you saw me during that Bad Omens Beartooth, like a Day to Remember show in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, you saw the Brewers hat guy in the pit. Yeah, I never stepped out of there. And I got big legs, so I should probably chafe during those, right? Wrong, because I had the anti-chafing ball deodorant. That has prevented me from chafing my big ass legs ever since I started using it in 2020. And I'm so glad that Manscaped is sponsoring the podcast, because now I get to talk all about it and get you guys a good deal on it. So go to manscaped.com, get some that anti-chafing ball deodorant, the crop preserver, and use the code CPP at checkout to get 20% off and free shipping. Thank you, Manscaped. We are sponsoring the When We Were Hungry Music Festival, happening October 20th and 21st in Las Vegas, Nevada. Yeah, if you guys miss those Warped Tour vibes where you could be throwing down to one song, one set, dancing another set, and then crying your emo eyes out to the next set and doing this over and over and over again, that's what When We Were Hungry is for. We had Will and Mel back on the podcast in April of 2022 to talk about this. You can go check the episode out where they talk all about it. You get to know how it all started from a meme, and now this meme turned to a dream, turned to reality. We've had bands on the podcast that are a part of the festival, such as Modern Day Escape, VRSTY, Outlier, Along Came a Spider, Saving Vice, Palisades. Secondhand Serenade is headlining day 2. We've recently had The Medic Droid, A Skylit Drive, and Tickle Me Pink on the podcast as well. So go and get your tickets now. You're not going to want to miss out on it. WhenWeWereHungryFestival.com. Go make sure you get them before they all sell out. Find me in the pit with pancakes. Oh, yeah. Now it's time for a feature presentation. So one of those bands I mentioned that I've had in the podcast for is back today for one incredible episode. It is Joey Varela from the band of VRSTY, one of my top 5 all-time favorite guests to have in the podcast. And this, my God, is so much fun. We go into When We Were Hungry. We go into, how much fun we're looking forward to this, how much fun we're going to have. This is going to be us. We talk about the Warped Tour vibes of it. We also talk about Joey and VRSTY's year so far this year, playing Shiprocked, the 10 Years Tour, the Nonpoint Tour. We'll talk about the fact that they're going to be going on a little headlining run right before When We Were Hungry. What? And, are you ready? New music. We talk about new music, and it's going to have you on your toes, everybody. So get ready for one incredible episode with one incredible person. You're not going to want to miss out on this one. So sit back, get your popcorn ready. Let's enjoy one hell of a podcast with Joey Varela from VRSTY. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. This has to be, of course, one of my top 5 favorite guests of all time to ever have in the podcast, and he's right back with us once again. Earlier this year, right at the beginning of this year, they released their first LP called Welcome Home, and they've been on tour with 10 Years and with Nonpoint already this year, and of course, they're going to be playing day 1 of the When We Were Hungry Music Festival. So, of course, we got to have a blast with it. So, let's get you hyped up, because you're going to want to go out to When We Were Hungry, because you're going to want to go out and see all these bands, but specifically this guy and this one. One of the hardest working guys in music that I've ever met before in my entire life. Please welcome back to the podcast, Joey Varela from VRSTY. So, Joey, my friend, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back, man. Stoked to be here again.
Dude, always a pleasure to have you back on the podcast. Like when all of a sudden everything with when we were hungry, when Will was the first one, was like, okay, let's get you some more bands like from the festival on the podcast. You were the first person that he like put me in a message. I'm like, dude, this is my favorite guest of all time. Like, of course we're gonna do something like this.
Yeah, dude, it was funny when the offer came through. I was already looking at that festival and I'm like, damn, that festival looks so much fun. It looks like so much fun. And my manager's like, oh yeah, actually in the email, you guys want to play it? There's an offer in the email. I'm like, hell yeah, I do. What the hell?
So they just literally sent you an offer in like the introductory email, like, hey, this is the festival. Also, here's the offer. You guys want to play this? That's how it went down.
I think they sent him an email before that and he responded, but I don't think they spoke about anything. I know he asked if we want to play and I said, yeah. And I think the moment he told them, yeah, they immediately sent the offer. And I'm like, oh, sick. Yeah, take it. I don't care. I just want to play it.
Oh, that is awesome. Cause I still remember like the first like couple of bands were like rolling out in terms of like the first couple that were being announced. It was like the original a Skylar Drive lineup, and all of a sudden I saw VRSTY was on there. I'm just like, oh shit. And this was like right after I was like, I had them on the podcast right after I sponsored the whole entire thing. So I'm like, holy shit, one of my friends is getting to play.
Yeah,
Let's go.
It's actually the festival. It just sounds sick. It looks sick. Like everyone just seems so like hyped and enthused about it. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
So, like, out of this whole entire festival, like, what's the thing you're most excited for? Again, with the whole entire lineup, but the whole entire festival, like, what's the thing that really was, of course, when the first email came in, like, drove you guys, like, hell yeah, we want to play this thing?
The name, first of all, when we were Hungry Fest, it's sick. It's actually sick. But then I saw all the other bands that they were putting on there, and I was like, damn, I like really want to play with like all of these bands, and it's Vegas, so it's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. I know we've talked previously, and you've talked about how much you like Vegas. So when I saw you guys on there, I thought, of course, yes, one of my friends is playing this. This is awesome. Secondly, I'm like, wait, I know Joey loves to go to Vegas. Like, why does this make so much sense that he's on this lineup with the rest of
Vegas
VRSTY?
So much. I love Vegas. Jesus, I love Vegas.
Dude, every band I've talked to so far about this thing, when it comes to, because of course I've talked to Will from Modern Day Escape. I've talked to Brandon from Palisades. Literally after I heard they got on there, I talked to him in person. Talked to you. I've talked to Joey Arena from Outlier. I've talked to the original Skyline Drive guys. Talked to Tickle Me Pink, the Medic Droid. Talked to a lot of people about this, and everyone's just like, this is the sickest thing ever. Like, we didn't expect this to be a thing. All of a sudden we got the offer, like, oh shit, this is real. And everyone's just running with it now.
And even when we first got the offer, my manager was like, yeah, I'm not sure if this is really going to happen. It just seems like kind of like a joke thing, but it also seems serious. And I'm like, just, take the offer. Let's just let it rock. And now it's actually become like this thing that I'm like, this is crazy. This is absolutely insane.
Well, even you take a look at like the headliners on day one, the headliner is Black Flag. And I just couldn't believe that they actually got Black Flag as a headliner. And then day two, we're going to be singing our emo hearts out all together, listening to Secondhand Serenade.
I saw Black Flag and I was like, what the hell? Like, what? How did they even get out? Dude, that is so fucking sick. That's so awesome.
Dude, it's just, I got to shout out the team. I got to shout out Will, Mal, and everybody else that's over there working with the whole entire When We Were Hungry Festival for, first off, putting this whole entire thing together. A meme and a dream, pancakes in the pit, everything around there. And second off, just creating something where I've been talking to everybody. It's like everyone gets like the vibes of like, what everyone loved about Warped Tour. It's like, this is going to be the thing. Like, we're getting that once again in a space like with When We Were Hungry, because as I've heard, you could be dancing at one point, you could be just singing your emo heart, you could be crying for the next set, and then the following set, you could be throwing down the pit. Like, your emotions could be all over the place. You get so much different music here, but you're going to love every second of it.
Yeah, it's like, there's literally something for everyone. Literally. Every person who attends this show will get at least something that they love. Like, they'll get like some nostalgia in there. They'll get like some new bands. It's just like this mix of like, it's just going to be sick. It's going to be sick.
It's just that whole entire, again, the Warped Tour vibe is like upon this festival. And you look at it, it's absolutely insane. Because again, you're getting bands that everyone knows. Everyone knows Black Flag. Everyone knows Secondhand Serenade when you're going to sing along with that. So you look at some of the other bands, they're like, I remember these bands from like 2008, 2009. And then you see a lot of these other great upcoming bands that are like really starting to take the scene by storm, like Palisades, like you guys with VRSTY. It's like, this is everything you could possibly want in a 2-day festival. Like, why wouldn't you go to this?
Yeah, it's fucking sick. It's going to be some of the best. It's literally going to be the best 2 days.
I'll put it this way. That's going to be 2 days where I probably sleep the most minimal sleep I've ever gotten in my entire life because I'm not going to want to miss out
Yeah,
on
I thought about
anything.
the same thing. I'm like, I actually, so we have a tour routed down to Vegas, and I was telling my agent, I was like, hey, just give me like a couple of days off in the middle of that. He's like, well, why? And I'm like, why? Obviously, we want to be there for both days, but then I'm probably gonna need an extra day off just to get my energy back.
Yeah, because I've got a feeling like all of a sudden, especially after that first day, it's like, okay, here comes the first day. Everyone like goes nuts to you guys. Everyone goes nuts to Black Flag. There's the after party. And all of a sudden, it'll be like 2 a.m. and everyone's gonna be like, hey, we're gonna go to this casino now. Let's all go. And all of a
Yeah,
sudden, I'm just gonna be randomly in there. I'm just gonna be like, how the fuck am I gonna be able to,
yeah.
get any kind of sleep after this?
Yeah,
Oh dear
let's
God.
just go to a casino and just not sleep tonight, and then show up tomorrow for the next show.
Oh God, that's gonna be, you don't know how much like Red Bull 5 hour energy, like actual adrenaline I have to like pump into my
Yeah.
veins just to get going for that. Cause then
You,
after that, the day after, I have to go to one of my best friend's weddings back here in Milwaukee. So I'm just gonna be like,
you
I'm gonna be
gotta
like a zombie during that one and be like,
you got a hell of a ride.
it's gonna be worth it though, because I always look at it in this way. With all this crazy stuff that's going on with any music festival I go to, yeah, there's gonna be times where I don't get enough sleep. There'd be times where things aren't gonna go right. But I also look at it as no good story ever started out with, dude, this is a great night. I got 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah,
No story ever starts like that.
no one ever says that. If you had fun, you're never talking about sleep. Not once.
No, if I am talking about sleep, it's about how little sleep I got so that I could experience everything that was going on there.
100%. 100%.
Like we'll be at a casino, all of a sudden, we'll walk outside, it'll be 7 a.m. and it's gonna be like, shit, we gotta go back to when we were hungry at in
Yeah.
a couple hours.
Mm.
Oh dear God.
Yeah. Get the Red Bull, get that breakfast going, get to work.
Literally Red Bull and pancakes. I'm just gonna mainline to my veins like, come on, baby.
Yeah. That
So
sounds pretty
yeah.
decent.
Oh, it's gonna be nuts. So you got a tour already routed for you guys out to Vegas. So because has that been announced? What's that going to entail? Because I want
That
to see you guys.
hasn't been announced. It's actually our first headlining tour. So it's I'm pretty like nervous about it, which is
What?
pretty well. Yeah. Uh, we had some other tours in the works, and then sometimes things don't work out or whatever. And so my agent was like, hey, you guys, obviously he said, we got to get you down to this festival. So he's like, well, what do you think we put together like a headlining tour for you? And I'm like, well, I'm really scared about that, but I guess whatever.
What's got you scared about going on your first headlining tour? I mean, granted, it is the first time you'd be, headlining a full tour, but like, what's got you nervous about the whole entire thing?
I don't know if we're like ready to headline a tour yet. So I'm like really nervous about it. Also, I just came off of tour with Nonpoint in 10 years. I watch them every day. Every day. Like those are headlining bands to me. And I'm just like, I don't think we're there yet.
See, I'm gonna like when it comes to what I saw from you guys, especially for I think it was the first or second day of that Nonpoint tour back in May and June.
That was the first show.
It was the first show up in Green Bay. Yeah, because I remember just like seeing you guys and just seeing the energy that you brought to that stage and seeing like Nonpoint's energy as well. And it was a different kind of energy just given the different kind of music, but the energy output and the way that the crowd was receiving the energy and the way I was receiving the energy was very similar to the point where listening to you guys up on stage, watching you guys perform, seeing you move around on stage, there was an energy there that was having that crowd engaged. And that's something that, as a headlining band, you're going to have because no band's going to headline a show and attract people there if they're not going to be able to engage emotionally with the crowd and give them that positive experience.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think that's one of the things that like makes me super nervous because like on the tours we did, I had like some really good connections with like the crowds, but then I'm just like, oh, can I like do this like as a headliner? It's a little different.
Just a little different, but it's something where you're going to have to take that step as a band, especially to get to that next step. So you're going to have to go on that first headline run. And what better time to go out on a headline run when you've already gone out on the road with 10 years, when you've already gone on the road with Nonpoint, and you've already built up some sort of, fan base and some sort of collective fan base nationally around all these different places for people that have already seen you. So when you bounce around these different places, people are gonna be like, oh shit, I saw VRSTY earlier in the year with 10 years. I saw VRSTY over the summer when they played with Nonpoint. I want to go check this out again. Myself, I'm gonna be like, wait, VRSTY's coming around right before we were hungry? Yay!
Dude, you know what's what is funny about this, I'm like nervous about headlining, but I am glad that the tours we did were 10 years and Nonpoint, because those guys taught me so much. Like they taught me so much about like how to actually do this, that I'm like, oh, this is like, I'm glad I got to do it with them and watch like bands that I've looked up to forever, like actually do what they do, so I can like pick their brain and like just watch them and learn, you know? So like a part of me is kind of like, well, I mean, you've been trained for this, so I think you can do it. It's just like a little part of me is still nervous, you know?
Well, you're going to have that little bit of nervousness there just because it is going to be your first headlining run, but take a look at like the bands that you've toured with, the brains that you're able to pick and the advice you're able to get. So you have a little bit of that, art background and of advice where you can always lean on that. So when things are potentially, going one way, okay, I've talked to, Elias from Nonpoint about this. What can I do to make sure that, this show or this particular, stretch is going to be better given, some circumstances that you're going through? Because, I mean, last year, I know at Nonpoint, they went through that whole entire thing where their trailer became detached from their,
Yep.
their tour bus, and then they had to deal with all that stuff. So they've gone through a lot themselves, especially over the course of 20 years. So that's a perfect like band to really pick the brain of.
Oh yeah, no, I picked their brain so damn much.
So what was like the most important thing that stands out in your mind that they gave you advice wise so that, when you're going on this headline run that you're ready for it? Like what was the thing that stood out the most that you heard from them?
So we actually had dinner with them one night. It was like both bands. We went out to like eat somewhere, and we were just talking about like random shit. And I had asked Elias, I was like, man, like, we were just talking. I'm like, I obviously the goal is for me to just get to like your level one day. Like I just love watching you on stage and everything else. And I remember him telling me, he was like, I know you're gonna get there. He was like, as long as you keep being you, you will get there, and quick. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. He's like, dude, just be real. He's like, you yourself are fine. Do what you do, and that's it. And that was like the one. It's weird because it's like that's like some of the most simple advice you could ever give somebody. But I remember him just saying that to me, and me going on stage every show after that, like, oh, I'm just gonna do whatever I want now. Like I'm just gonna be me. Like if obviously this is working and the headlining band is watching us every night, and this guy, aside from liking our music, he's just like, I just like who you are as a person on stage because I'm just being me. I'm like that. If that means something to him, it probably means things to other people. Like there are too many artists out here who have like they pretend to be things. For I guess they feel like if they pretend to be someone, then fans will like them more. And it was just nice to know that just me being me is what makes people interested in this band and interested in me.
Dude, the thing you just brought up there just reminds me of the conversation I had with Joey Arena from Outlier, where we were talking about with Rock and Metal Today, where something you just talked about, where it's, people up on stage instead of you're being kind of someone that, they're not really just, they can appeal to a crowd and that they think they're going to appeal to in a certain way. Like it's more concentrated on the image that's being projected than the attitude that should be projected from the artist. So if Elias is telling you, dude, just be you on stage, like that says a lot, because if they're going to be the ones, every single night on that tour where all of a sudden you guys are up on stage and they're side stage watching you guys because they want to see what you do as an artist. They want to see what the whole entire band does as a collective, and they want to see how the crowd responds to that. You take a look at some of those, like, artists in rock and metal where they're the ones that are like, especially the, the lead singers, the frontmen, everything like that, where they're the ones that are really engaging with the crowd, being themselves and going absolutely nuts. I mean, Elias stands out for me on that one. I recently saw Papa Roach and Jacoby Shaddix with his like erratic style of just performing.
So good.
Yeah, you take a look at those guys, it's, people are drawn to those shows. And why is that? Especially because when you see them live, it's, yeah, you like the music, but there's a piece of the show that you want to see when you see these people perform live. So there's going to be a attraction there. And the first time I got to see you play up in Green Bay, like I saw the movements. I saw the passion that was coming from you, just you being yourself on stage. And the crowd was connecting with that. The crowd was enjoying that. So all of a sudden, Nonpoint goes on and we're still riding the emotion that we saw from VRSTY. And then Nonpoint comes on and we just take that as a crowd and just throw it right in there. And then it just picks up and everything's going there. And again, when it comes to Nonpoint, they're just being themselves on stage too. You're just doing the exact same thing, but just doing it yourself. Like That was the perfect advice to get.
Yeah. Dude, that band is like, they're just so chill, like such good people to talk to and just to learn from, and even just to be around. Even when you're with them in a room and you're not talking, because there were times where like we would all just sit at a bar and just sit in silence. And I just like being around their energy. I'm just like, I just like being around you guys. There's something about each individual member of this band that I just like being around you guys. It was so cool, man.
Well, shit, all of a sudden, I'm assuming, like, next year there's going to be another non-point run, and all of a sudden be like, yeah, non-point's got another run, and VRSTY's with them. But it's, like, going to be, like, a co-headlining type thing, and be like, oh, shit!
Who knows, right? That'd be sick.
That will be sick. But so, because you also toured with 10 Years as well, were you able to pick their brains as well to kind of get something off from them, like a piece of advice that really stands out from them for you guys going on your next headlining
10
run?
years
Or first
is a
headlining
little different. 10 years is a little different just because, so each member of that band is more like, they each have like their own roles that they kind of do. So it's hard to talk to all of them. Or it's hard to like kind of pick one person's brain because they're all over the place. But I did get to talk to Jesse and Matt a lot, the guitarist, and obviously Jesse, the vocalist, about like just everything, literally everything, even everything from just like band stuff to like life, because they've toured so much. And one of the main things that I learned from Jesse was actually, this is probably another good piece of advice. I remember one day we were talking and he was like, yeah, he's like, are you ready to tour a lot? And so I'm like, yeah, I think I'm ready to tour. He's like, no, you can't say you think. It's like, if you love it, you just got to do it. I was like, oh, but what if? And he's like, no, there's no buts. Once you get the ball rolling in this industry, you have to do these things to maintain, like you got to maintain a crowd and everything else. And especially nowadays, like people listen to music just all the time. There's so much music out there. The moment you stop doing something, they'll just forget about you. Just forget and move on to something else. And one of the things Jesse told me was, he was like, just be prepared to work. You have to work all the time, all the time. Be ready to just hop on the next thing and hop on the next thing. He's like, just make sure that while you're doing that, you're having the most fun you can have, and you'll be fine.
That is some damn good advice, man.
Yeah, dude. I remember time I was like, dude, so you've been having fun this whole time? And he's like, yeah, they've been doing it forever. And he's like, I've never not had fun touring. I'm like, that's crazy, because most of the time you hear bands talk about touring that much, and they're like, yeah, this was a nightmare and that was a nightmare. This guy is just like, nah, I've loved this for as long as I've done it. I'm like, that's super inspiring.
That is, because it also comes from a very real place, especially from people that have toured for so many years, for so long, and so consistently.
That band toured forever.
Yeah, so, when it comes down to you, especially when it comes to music, because every time I've talked to you, when it comes to what you're doing in music, when it comes to the what you're putting out there, when it comes to, especially what we talked last time, all about Welcome Home, it was just the amount of passion that you were putting out there. And when it came to, you always got to keep the ball rolling, you got to, keep going on to the next thing, and while still enjoying what you're doing in the present at the exact same time, but you have to, you have to be able to go from one thing to the next. Like, when I said, one of the hardest working men in music, because we've talked last time, and it was like all the stuff you were doing, like, just before the album release was absolutely ridiculous. Like, it was like, okay, we're still going to be working on new music. We're working on, live shows. You were literally making merch, like, in your house at the same time. So I'm like, how the fuck does this guy do this? But all of a sudden, that work ethic and that love for it just rolls into the next thing. It rolls into touring, it rolls into touring more, and it rolls into the fact that, what Jesse had said, you got to love this stuff. Well, if you're going to be consistently doing this and you're going to work that hard for so long, there has to be some sort of like absolute love that is in there, because otherwise, you're just going to get burnt out pretty quickly.
Yeah, man. You like, I seriously tell everyone, I'm like, this industry is crazy. I was like, you have to love it, because if you don't love it, it'll chew you up and spit you out so quickly.
And I think we've seen some bands that's happened to as well. I don't want to name names, but I've seen somewhere all of a sudden it's, once they get to a certain step, all of a sudden they have, their priorities and their mindsets are in different places. And don't get me wrong, that's fine, if they're learning about themselves at that point in time, but they're also learning at that point where, if you want to go through and do this, if you want to make that success, if you want to be that band that's, going to be going on those headlining runs, playing, 1,000, 2,000, 4,000, 8,000 cap shows a night, like, you've got to absolutely love every step of the way to get to that point. You got to love the grind to get to that point. You can't love the end result. You have to love the process to get there.
Yeah. You have to love all of it. You have to love the good and the bad and just kind of roll with it.
Yes, love the good and find a way to love the bad. And because sometimes, some of those bad things, they lead to some of the best things, or, they create some of the craziest stories where all of a sudden, you get on something like this with me. And it's like, okay, this is one of the worst things that ever happened. But now looking back at it,
Dude,
isn't it funny as shit?
it's honestly so true. So I'm gonna tell you something interesting. This year, in the beginning of this year, when we did Shiprocked, there was another tour offer for us. It wasn't like we ended up not being able to do it because of Shiprock, because of just the contract we had. But there was, there was the tour, it was the Fall in Reverse and Wage War tour, and we weren't able to do it. And so we did Shiprocked, and I got on Shiprocked, and I remember just being so bummed, like, God, I really wouldn't want to do that tour. But Shiprocked got us the tour with Nonpoint. And I'm like, this is like one thing didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out, which is totally fine. I'm like, but I got something else that I wanted anyway. So I'm like, this is super sick. So it's like sometimes, things happen and it sucks and you get bummed about it. But like you said, sometimes bad things happen and then a good thing would just grow out of it.
Yeah, because take a look at that. I mean, I remember that Falling Reverse Wage War tour. I was supposed to go to it, but the show I was supposed to go to literally got canceled like the night beforehand. So I
Yeah.
woke up in the morning ready to go to the gym so I could actually, get through my whole entire day. And all of a sudden, I open my email. I'm like, and the show got canceled. I was like, fuck. So if you guys were on that bill, I would have been even more pissed than I
Yeah,
originally
we
was.
were we were talking to everyone about it, but then I don't even know what happened. We just couldn't do it. So I'm like, it's fine. Just we'll get a tour with them next time or something. We did Shiprock, which was sick. Like Shiprock was like one of the craziest experiences of my life. So I'm also really glad I got to do that.
So what all happened at Shiprock if it was one of the crazy experiences of your life? Because I got to know about this, man.
Dude, so first off, you don't sleep on that boat. Um, if you think you're gonna sleep on there, you don't. You wake up at like 9 in the morning and you just start drinking. It's the craziest thing ever. All the bands are just walking around, hanging out, eating, drinking, having fun. You meet and talk to everyone. You gain like this. I don't even know how to put it. Shiprock fans aren't like fans. It's literally like family. Like these people become your family because you live with them for a week. You see them every day. You eat breakfast with them, lunch, dinner. You get drunk with them. You get off the boat, and now they come to all of your shows after this. It's that whole experience is crazy. The games that are on the ship, like I did rage yoga, which is like I I'm not even the yoga type, but I saw it and I'm like, what is this? And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna get drunk and do yoga and scream and listen to metal. And I'm like, what? I was so confused, but dude, it was just so much fun. It was also cool, like interacting with like other bands, like bands that Scaring Kids, for example, was on it. I've been a fan of theirs forever, and I'm literally sitting at a table eating fucking lunch, and they walk by and they're like, we just start talking. And I'm like, holy shit, this is crazy. Corey Taylor, I almost spilled my coffee on him, and that was crazy. I was buying a coffee, and I get my coffee, and I turn around, and I didn't realize how close he was to me. And I like bumped into him. I didn't know who he was, so I'm like, oh, dude, like I'm so sorry. And when I look up, he like looks at me. He goes, nah, dude, it's like okay. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking Corey Taylor. What the fuck? Dude, it was so weird. Like it was just that whole God, that whole trip was an experience, man. Lamb of God watched us play, and I got to speak to all of them. And they like that was already insane because I got on stage and we're one song in, and I look over and I see Art and Randy, and I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? I'm like, they're probably just walking by or whatever. We play the whole hour set. I look over, they're still there. I'm like, did these people just like watch our set? And I'm walking off the stage, and before I even get off the stage, I still remember this man. Randy walks up to me, and I look up at him, and I'm nervous because it's Lamb of God. They're one of my favorite bands ever. And before I say anything, he literally looks at me. He goes, I don't know who the hell you are, but that was fucking amazing. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is insane. Like one of my favorite vocalists literally just told me that my set was insane. Like he liked my it was crazy, man. It was definitely something that like I cherish being able to do and like being a part of. Cause not many people get to play with their favorite bands or meet their favorite bands or just hang out with their favorite bands and fans in the same place. Everyone has to do it. People, you got to do this. You have to do this.
Dude, just the way you're describing it, I'm like, shit, I've done a couple of festivals. I've done a number of them, and it's like, I love this, the whole entire family vibe around there. But if you're telling me that Shiprocked is like that plus like 100 and being able to potentially, like, I could potentially just be eating breakfast and all of a sudden, here comes a band that I absolutely love. Like, all of a sudden, if you guys are on it next year, I could be on the ship and all of a sudden I see you guys walking around. I'm just like, oh shit, what's up, man? All of a sudden now I'm eating breakfast with all you guys, and then all of a sudden here comes Randy from Lamb of God. Here comes Corey Taylor sitting down and be like, what the fuck just happened?
It's really like that. It's really like that. And I know like people who've never been on the ship probably don't believe me, but I'm telling you, it's really like that, man. Like you'll just be walking by and you bump into somebody and then bam, next thing you know, you're having a hot chocolate. You're just having a hot chocolate with them on the deck and you're like, is this like actually my life? Am I dreaming? Like it's crazy, but it's even crazy for fans. Cause I drank with a couple of fans on the ship and there were times where they stopped me and they were like, I can't believe you're like actually drinking with me. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, I was just going to buy you a drink and leave. And I'm like, where are you going to go? We're on a ship. Where would you go? We might as well just hang out here. And like for them, it's, it's just as much an experience as it is for the artists.
Yeah, because like from a fan perspective, it's we get to actually, interact with some of our favorite artists and, potentially get to have a drink with you, not just buy you a drink, but we get to have that drink with you, sit down and talk to you for all, and we get to have that connection with some of our favorite artists, or we get to have that connection with an artist that we just saw on stage and we're like, again, like Randy, I have no idea who you guys are, but that was fucking awesome.
Dude, that was crazy. That was like one of the craziest things. And it's funny because that night we played, after that, I got plastered. I was so excited. I got like plastered. Woke up the next morning at like 10 and I had to host bingo. And I think there was like 100 people there or something. It's like maybe like 100, 150 people there. People that were at the show the night before. And they're like, oh yeah, we saw your show yesterday. So we bought bingo cards because we've heard you were the host. So we're just going to hang out with you at bingo. And I'm like, sick. It was like a Bloody Mary and like margarita bingo thing. It was so sick, dude. You just drink and play bingo.
Oh, dear God. Okay. I mean, you pretty much already sold me on going to Shiprock next year. You just keep adding to it. I'm like, no, I got to get all my friends in on this. Be like, guys, Shiprock next year. But Kevin, it's expensive. Dude, trust me. Joey told me about this shit. Like, you're going to want to listen to this and like get the Spire,
also
man.
just paid in installments. They have like this payment thing where you can like pay a certain amount every month. It's crazy.
Knowing me, I'm just going to be like, alrighty, you know what? I'm just going to pay this in full. Why? Because I feel like it. And now it's like, just so I'm inspired, like over the moon right now. And I'm like I'm just going to be looking through that lineup and like, okay, I'm just going to end up putting myself in these random positions to go see some of my favorite artists, see artists I've never heard of, see artists I've had in the podcast, and then just go places and hopefully run into somebody. Well, you got to put yourself in the position though.
Dude, I'm going back next year, right? I'm not performing on the ship. I'm just going to vacation at this point because I'm like, I love the ship so much that I'm like, I'm just gonna go have fun. I started telling like people, there's like a group chat for it. I just started telling people like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be there. They're like, oh my God, what are you gonna do? And I'm like, I'm just gonna hang out with you guys for the whole week. I'm gonna do karaoke. I'm gonna drink. I'm just gonna go vacation. Just go vacation with some fans. It's gonna be sick. And other bands do that. There are artists who are on the ship that don't, like last year. Some of the dudes, some Nothing More were on the ship, but they didn't play last year. Well, this year they didn't play. They were just there, and I'm like, what the hell? They just go and they just hang out, and I'm like, that's insane.
Dude, that is nuts. My God, like
insane.
Okay, Shiprock sounds like what would possibly be like the potentially best, experience you could have as a fan. As artist, just everyone, you're not, like you said, you're on a ship for a certain period of time, and you can't really. Everyone's together. You gotta hang out with everybody, and you never know who you're gonna run into. Like you said, you might accidentally almost spill coffee on Corey Taylor and be like, "What?"
Dude, that was so crazy. I like looked over at him and I'm like, "You're Corey Taylor." He was like, "Yep," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know you, man." It was so weird because like I spoke to him for like a bit, and I like introduced myself or whatever, and I told him like the band I was in. And he actually checked out our set night two, which is crazy. Like, dude, having people that like I look up to watch my set is just ridiculous.
So you got to have the guys from Lamb of God watch your set one night. You got to have Corey Taylor watch your set another night.
Yeah.
My God, no wonder why all of a sudden it's like, thinking about what happened, you had the potential for that Falling Reverse Wage War tour, which was a gigantic tour given the venues that they were playing. I mean, they were playing in venues that were like 4,000 capacity.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, you get to go to you have to go to Shiprocked, it said, but you get to create all these different connections with all these different people. And now you're going to be, going back next year just to enjoy it as a fan and just to just hang out with people. But you got the non-points who are now going to be going on your own headlining tour out to When We Were Hungry. I mean, again, turning into a situation that could have potentially been like, oh, darn. But all of a sudden, see what came from it. My God, man.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Like that one thing didn't work out for us. And like, we were really sad about it. And then everything else just came out of nowhere. Like, oh yeah, but there's all this other stuff that now you can do because you didn't do that tour. And I'm like, holy shit. So it kind of worked out,
It kind of did work out, and you never know what might have happened if you would have went on that Falling Reverse Wage War tour. But I got a feeling like no matter what happened, if it was been that one or if it ends up being what did happen with the whole Shiprocked thing, it ended up working out for everything would have worked out for the positive. Just given the energy that you guys bring as a band, given the style that you work with as a band, especially with bringing that R&B influence into some of that post-hardcore metal, I'll bring it all together. It's just something that people really connect with and people can really, get down to. People can really vibe with it. Or like myself, all of a sudden you play something that gets a little heavier and next thing you know, I'm pushing people around going, this is fun. Like, it's just something where it's like a Shiprocked style thing with so many people that are coming because, someone wants to go see Slipknot, someone wants to go see Lamb of God. All of a sudden they come by you guys. It's like, I might not know who VRSTY is, but after that, I'm like, God damn. I want to see him again. So I'm gonna go see him night two.
Dude, it's also crazy. Like, because you're on a boat, a lot of people don't know who you are, but they hang out with other people, and other people are like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go see this band, whatever, this day," and they're like, "Oh, I have no idea what that is. Like, I'm gonna go watch them." And it's funny. So, playing Shiprocked actually made us look like a bigger band than we were, and that also worked in our favor. So, we were one of the smallest bands on the ship. It's our first year. We're obviously not as big as any of the other acts on there. So they gave us the smallest stage on the ship, which is fair. I'm like, it's our first time on the ship. I'm just appreciative to be here. The ship was behind, the stage was behind the coffee shop where I almost spilled coffee on Corey Taylor. It was like a tiny floor. The band barely fit on the stage. We got on stage and I'm like, well, there's not really going to be much people. It'll be like 100, 200 people here. Dude, I got on stage and before we even started playing, the entire floor was packed. There was like 500 and something people there. And the place that we played was like, it was like this little center thing. And on the sides are the hallways to the ship where people walked up and down. Dude, our area was so packed that like the coffee shop like closed for a set. And they were literally telling people, it's like, oh, you either have to walk through that crowd or just take the elevator upstairs and go around and go back down because there's too many people over there. Like, dude, it was insane. I was like, holy shit. There was people from wall to wall. And I'm like, this is crazy. It made us look like a huge band. I'm like, this is, and in my head, I'm like, I know we're not this big, but this makes us look ginormous right now.
I mean, it makes you look absolutely huge if all of a sudden you're expecting, like you said, 100, 200 people, and all of a sudden, you're packing the stage, and to the point where the coffee shop's having to tell people, we're going to have to close this certain entry point because that crowd is too large for you to walk through.
Dude, the crowd was so large. They were just like, yeah, we can't make coffee. Like, we can't serve you anything. There's too many people. So come back in like an hour and a half. I was like, well, sorry.
It's like, well, if you want coffee right now, what you have to do is you're going to have to watch VRSTY play their entire set, and then you can go get coffee.
I will say, though, that coffee was amazing. Probably some of the best coffee I've had.
So that's why a lot of people might have been like, at first, like, we're going to wait here because it's amazing coffee. Then after the set, they're like, well, now we were happy that we had to wait here because we got to see that.
It was fun, man. It was fun. I can't wait to do that again.
Well, shit, especially now, for this upcoming year with you just going, as a fan and just being able to enjoy it, go vacation and just, now you potentially are going to be able to get to see a lot of the bands that you like to go and see there, be a part of the crowd. But you never know. Maybe some of the bands that were played last year that saw you guys side stage are going to be there this year. Maybe some of the bands that you've toured with, maybe Nonpoint will be on there. Maybe 10 Years will be on there. and you'll get to be side stage and watch them perform. And then again, you never know who you're going to run into. You never know who all of a sudden, these guys that you've created great relationships with are going to potentially, say, oh yeah, we're going to go hang out with these people. You want to join in? Or, hey, we're going to go hang out with Corey Taylor for a little bit. Joe, you want to come with? You're probably going to be like, going to make sure I hold on to my coffee real tight now.
Yeah, it's fun, man.
It's fun. Now I gotta feel like I'm gonna say this, man. Shit, you're gonna expect to see me out there now because I'm convinced now, like this has to happen.
It's crazy. It's an experience.
It's gonna be an experience, and I'll probably won't get any. It'll be like when we were hungry. I won't get any sleep. I'll probably have too much beer, but you know what? I'm gonna be happier than all hell the whole entire week.
Well, there's a gym on the ship, so you can always just drink beer and then wake up and just work out. Just work it all out. Do it again.
Oh dear God! It'll be like, alrighty, let's go hit that treadmill. Let's run 10 miles on this ship all of a sudden. After every single mile, just
Dude, it's
okay,
funny because like at home I work out every morning. Like I go to the gym every morning, but on the ship, not once. I just couldn't get myself to do it. I'm like, no, there's no way. There's no way.
Well, you're in performance mode and in vacation mode all at the same time. Like it's a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, you're in performance mode, vacation, and survival mode at the same time every day, and you're like, how am I pulling this off?
So that sounds like when I went to Blue Ridge, it was literally survival mode. Then all of a sudden, it was like vacation mode, then performance mode in the pit because there was no stopping. There was no stop there. And like I get the feeling, man.
Insane. Blue Ridge looked absolutely insane.
Oh dear God! Some of those pits were just like some of just the most ridiculous fun things. And speaking of Lamb of God as well, because I was the only time I've ever been able to see Lamb of God. I'm like, I gotta jump in this pit. I gotta experience. I know it's gonna be wild. The amount of like dirt and dust that was coming off, like it got to a point where I'm like, shoot, like I'm in the pit consistently for like every single show. I might have to step out because I just can't breathe through this thing. Yeah. Then I see one of my friends that I came with. It was like because it was day 3. He was just like wanted to do everything that I was doing. So all of a sudden, and he's like maybe 40, 50 pounds like tinier than me. I see him going nuts in the middle of the pit. I'm like, well, shit. If he's still going nuts, I got to do something.
Yeah, you got to do something at this point. I was like, can't let him show me up.
Pretty much that was it. So I'm like, alrighty, deep breath. Let's go.
Let him get in there, man.
I mean, that was pretty much like, anytime I go see a show now. So all of a sudden, if, you guys started playing some of the heavier stuff in Green Bay, I'm like, well, I got to push somebody. So I could just push the person next to me. And all of a sudden we got like 10 people in there. I'm like, all right, we're doing this shit.
Dude, it's funny because like the Green Bay show, that was the first time we ever played the G.O.A.T, which was one of the newer, heavier songs. And it was the first time we played. I'm like, well, no one's going to know this song. So it's going to be weird. But then we had people dancing to it. I'm like, oh, that's fucking crazy. Dude, as that tour went on, I noticed more and more people, like, people didn't know the song, but they would hear it and know, like, oh, I can tell this is a heavy one. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Dude, it's so sick. I love that energy from live shows, man.
Like, even took me a little bit, too, when you first started playing the G.O.A.T. I'm like, is this going to be a heavier track? Is it going to be a lighter track? I don't know what to expect. All of a sudden, I started feeling like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking it's weird playing new music and like having people not know what we're gonna do. Because I didn't tease new music, we didn't do anything. We just went on tour and we're like, yeah, let's just play this new song and just see what happens.
And then you saw what happened. All of a sudden, like you said, as time went on, it was like more and more people were starting to get into it. And maybe it was their first time hearing it. Or maybe all of a sudden they found out through some random post online, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, VRSTY's got this new track that they're playing live, and it's like, okay, now we get a taste of it. It's a lot on the heavier side, so people are like, oh shit, let's go.
It's funny. We had people come up to us at shows and be like, hey, I heard you were playing like a new song, the G.O.A.T. Like, and I'm like, yeah, where'd you hear that from? And it's like, oh, one of my friends saw you last week and was like, yeah, they played this new song in the middle. And I'm like, that's so cool that people still like talk about their favorite bands. Because nowadays everything's on like TikTok and shit like that. So I'm like, it's super sick that like people still go to shows and like call up their friends. It's like, yo, are you going to that show? They're going to play this song and it's crazy. That's like super cool.
Dude, I still get that from some of my friends too, from some of the people that are following everything with the podcast. It's like, hey man, I went to go see this show and this opener was absolutely nuts. Or it's like, or sometimes it's like they send me stuff. It's like, hey, have you seen this band? Like, you got to check out this band. I'm like, guys, I know this band. Like, I've had them on the podcast. I knew you were going to love them. Like, this happens a lot. And I'm like, I still love getting those texts because it's just, again, it's just people talking about music and people sharing the music and the experiences that they had and wanting to have people see those as well. So all of a sudden it's, I have bands in the podcast, like they're going on tour and they're bringing on bands that have had in the podcast. It's like, oh shit, I get a chance to like actually pump some of these bands up, and like now people get to potentially hear about them. It's like, oh shit, now I want to go see them. Now I want to go check out them. Like I get to also be that point of contact too. It's like, man, this is fun. Like I get to just like keep promoting every single band I've had in the podcast and keep helping as many people as I can out. And I love the music, so it's like it's a win-win-win.
Right, that's a win-win. I'm about to say it's a win-win. So
I'm gonna go with 2 wins for my aspect, because like I get to keep talking about this stuff with people I like. I'm like, you know what? I could be having a bad day, and all of a sudden someone sends me new music. I'm just like, oh, yay!
Yeah. It's always great when you get new music and you're just like, I'm super into this.
Oh, it absolutely is, and it's even better when all of a sudden it's. Because it was like when I first did the whole entire, like the first video, when I was still doing all the YouTube videos I did, like I try and figure out VRSTY. I'm like, let's figure this out. Because like someone had mentioned me. I'm like, I think I've heard somebody, but I'm not sure. And all of a sudden, after that, I'm like, again, there's like, there's stuff that I'm not the biggest fan, but there's stuff that I really like. And all of a sudden now it's like, you guys are going on tour. I'm like, okay, VRSTY, okay, circle it, start. Like I got to see these guys play live. I got to be a part of this. And after seeing you once, I'm like, now I know you're going on a headline run out to When We Were Hungry. It's like, well, shit, how close are you potentially coming to me so I can, circle that date and potentially make it out there? Or at the very worst, it's like, well, shit, if at the very worst, I'm going to see you guys play day one of When We Were Hungry. And if that pit's going to be going, you can guarantee that I'm going to be in the freaking middle of it.
Yeah, dude, When We Were Hungry is going to be so fucking sick.
I've been asking this to everyone that I've talked to around When We Were Hungry, so I'm going to ask you the exact same question, because there are so many bands on the lineup. What band or bands are you most excited to see live or to be a part of that whole entire like live show experience with? Because I love to see kind of what all the different answers are.
So I really, really, really want to see Secondhand Serenade. I just, I that's like my thing. Funny enough, my top band is Dropout Kings, and it's weird because we went on tour with them, and every time I tell someone this, they're like, "Wait, what?" There's like all these other bands. I'm like, oh, I love all of them. I love Skylar Drive, all these bands. I'm stoked to watch them. I can't wait to watch Palisades. Like all these bands I love, but there's something about like watching my friend's band, who I'm also a fan of, that just makes me feel good. And I know that might be a weird thing for some people, because I have had some people be like, yo, but aren't you friends with them? And I'm like, yo, let me explain to you. Just because I'm friends with them does not mean I'm not a fan of this band. I am such a huge Dropout Kings fan, dude. Like, I love their music, like just their music. Like, even if we weren't friends, I would probably still be super excited to watch this band. So they're like the top for me. Like, I really, really want to see them again. I miss watching them every night on tour.
That's been a band where I've wanted to see him on tour and I've never had the chance to. Almost like I keep missing him every single time, but now it's like I get my chance.
That band is very, very slept on, and they're absolutely insane. They are so good live. They're actually doing Shiprocked this coming year, the year coming up. And again, Shiprocked, they're on it. Bad Omens on a bunch of bands, and even I'm still like, I really want to see Dropout Kings. Even with all these bands, I'm like, I want to see. Parkway Drive is actually on Shiprocked this year, which is crazy. I haven't seen them in like, dude, I haven't seen them in years.
My God. Okay, now, I mean, you're talking, Dropout Kings on Shiprocked, Bad Omens on Shiprocked, Parkway Drive on Shiprocked. I'm like thinking, my God.
It's like Bad
How am I going to survive this?
Wars on it. Motionless in White. There's so many bands on Shiprocked this year. I'm just like, holy shit.
Oh dear God, I'm gonna be drinking. All of a sudden, like, okay, I gotta get as much water in me as possible so I don't puke in the pit. Like,
it's funny. The headliners for Shiprocked this year are Parkway Drive and Falling in Reverse.
Oh my God. Oh dear God, I love seeing Falling in Reverse live. This is like the best thing ever. Like, and I get to potentially hang out with as many people as possible, go to Shiprocked, and all of a sudden, I might be waiting in line for coffee, and just because I need to pick me up somewhere after no sleep, you'll turn around and spill it on me. It'll be like, oh shit. I'll be like, why did I expect this, Joey? Like, why did I expect this?
Yeah, no, that would happen, dude. I wake up so hungover, I'm just put my shades on and go grab a coffee, and I'm like, all right, how am I going to start my day today?
I'll say that would happen where you would spill a coffee. I mean, you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. We look at each other and just start bursting out laughing hysterically. It's like, we called this shit.
We called it, man. Let's just get another coffee.
Well, let's just get another coffee and we'll deal with the rest of it later. It's like, okay, you got coffee over your shirt. It's fine. I've got like 5 more. They might be like partially sweaty still, but you know what? I'm going to be in the pit. Who cares?
Yeah, no one cares.
I feel like it's gonna be the same thing like with when we were hungry too, because it's just like out of all the bands that are there, I'm gonna be like, okay, I gotta go here, I gotta see this band, I'm gonna be here, 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 I'm gonna be jumping around everywhere. And the thing that's gonna make me the mass of all is like, there's so many bands we want to see. It's like I know I'm gonna end up accidentally missing 1 or 2 because I'm like, I want to be over here, I want to be over here. I can't be in 5 places at once, guys.
I thought about that already. I'm like, oh, there are gonna be bands I'm gonna miss. I'm gonna be rich, so I'm just gonna start running. I'm just gonna run.
It's gonna be like, I'm gonna be here for this song. All of a sudden, this song's on. Okay, now I'm over here. Now I'm over here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
If there are 2 bands that I want to watch play at the same time, I'm just gonna run from one side to the other side. I don't care.
The only time you're not gonna be able to do that is if you're performing the same time as one of the bands you want to see.
That's true. Well, I have a wireless mic, so maybe I'll just go perform and watch the other band at the same time.
That would be pretty interesting to see. All
or watch them from the back and just start singing like, oh, this is so sick, yeah.
Just like the rest of the band's up on stage playing, and you're like off to the side watching a different band just singing the whole entire time. I'll be like, "What the heck's Joey doing?" Oh! I see. He's watching Palisades perform.
Yeah. He's watching Palisades perform, but singing his songs. This is insane.
If that happens, I'm gonna be like, okay, gotta throw down the pit for VRSTY. All of a sudden, okay, they're done. Okay, someone crowd surf me out of here. I gotta go jump. I gotta go do some stuff for Palisades. Okay, I'm coming back. Like, I'm gonna be doing that.
Crowd surf me to the other stage right now.
There might be a lot of people that do that. It's like, no, just crowd surf me. Send me that way. I'm not trying to go to the front. Like, send me out that way. We gotta go see that band too.
Get to your favorite bands by any means. That's it.
Oh, God, yeah. It's like, I'm looking at this, too. I'm like, how many bands I've had in the podcast? Who am I going to have to all throw down to? Like, the worst thing that's going to happen is all of a sudden, like, if I have 2 bands in the podcast I've had on, and they're playing at the same time, be like, what do I do?
You got to throw down 1 song for each band.
No, it's like I got to throw down half for each band. Like, I'm not going to just do 1 song. Like, no, I got to go full force at this. Yeah. But then it's also, who do I do the first half of the set with? Who do I do the second half of the set with? Like, it's going to be a major conflict.
Yeah, you're going to be exhausted.
Yeah, but it's going to be worth it. And then all of a sudden, go gambling out with you guys until like 7 in the morning. It's like, okay, no, you got to do this all over again.
Yeah, I plan on having fun. I don't care. After the show's over, I'm just going to go have fun in Vegas.
And also, you said you're looking forward to seeing Secondhand Serenade perform. Dude, we're going to be singing and crying our emo hearts out during that set.
I'm going to be crying my eyes out. Like, I can't believe this is happening.
Like, we'll be in the crowd. You and me will have a beer in our hands, just crying, just singing along. Just like, ah. Next thing you know, all of a sudden, every other artist is over, like around us. Like, why are you guys crying? It's Secondhand Serenade.
The show's gonna be sick. Like, there's no other way to put it. It's gonna be insane.
Well, because I have talked to John from Secondhand Serenade, and one thing we brought up was his love for like food and love for cooking. Oh, so he might end up doing like a guest spot for an hour cooking burgers. So if he does that, like, I'm gonna text you and be like, Joey, get your ass over here. John's cooking.
Yeah. Hell yeah, we're gonna cry on those burgers.
It's like, this burger is gonna be the burger, and I fall for you.
It's delicious and beautiful.
It's delicious and beautiful. I'm so sad.
Oh my God, man, I can't wait. I wish it was happening already.
Hey man, we got just a little bit more to wait, man, and I'm already looking at this and like I'm just figuring out like, okay, this is gonna be the most like one of the most nuts festivals you've ever go to. Again, that Warped Tour vibe is back, so
yeah, it was missing for a while, man. It was definitely missing.
It was, and I think the pandemic also kind of like amplified that, because now instead of just like Warped Tour was already gone, but all of a sudden, all those festivals are gone for like a year and a half. People really didn't have that connection once again. Now, of course, we got that all back. Everything's all, hunky-dory in terms of the live music world for that aspect. But now, you're seeing all these different other festivals pop up, all these other different things happen. It's like, this is great, but no one still got that like Warped Tour vibe to it. But this might be the thing that brings it back. Like, this might be like the thing that ends up having people be like, holy shit, we can still do this.
Yeah, it's cool because like every other festival has its vibe, but nothing is pretty like, nothing really hit the Warp vibe. And then this tour comes out of nowhere and I'm like, well, holy shit, here we go. This is it. This is what we were waiting for.
And literally it would not like a tour like a festival like this and trying to like bring back that Warped Tour vibe and like just the way it happened. Because I know they weren't trying to, it just kind of happened, but the only way it could start out was literally with a fucking meme. And that's how it all fucking started.
Yeah, it started with a goddamn meme and now it's like a real thing.
It started with a meme with with Modern Day Escape. I set my friends on fire. I think Breathe Carolina was on that originally. Maybe Dropout Kings was on that originally because I think Dropout Kings was like one of the first like 3 bands that was like, fuck it, we're in.
Yeah. Yeah, they were one of like the first ones.
Yeah, because I think if I'm correct, it was them. Of course, Modern Day Escape because with Will being like the one that created the meme and got it all going. Of course, they're playing. And then I think the other one was Along Came a Spider.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds so. Yeah, I think that was it.
I'm pretty sure that was for the first 3. Then all of a sudden it was like the next, like, okay, now we're actually seeing like this come to fruition. And like I was waiting to hear like on some of these like crazy guests because I had Will and Mal on the podcast like before the lineup started getting announced. I'm like, who the hell's gonna be there? And they wouldn't tell me anything. I'm just like, God damn it! I know you guys. I'm proud you guys aren't telling me anything, but God damn it, I just want to know something. All of a sudden I started seeing like bands pop up. I saw you guys pop up there. I'm just like.
Yeah, I think when we popped up, everyone was kind of surprised. It's like, wait, what? And I'm like, yeah, we're playing. And they're like, what? And I'm like, cool. It's gonna be sick.
And then I'm just like telling people like, yo, you guys got to get out to this festival. Like I had someone that I work with for my full-time job. I told her about it. And she's like, wait a minute. We were going out to Vegas for like that for the other festival, but we're going to be there 3 days beforehand. We were looking for something to do. I'm just like, this is going to be better than that other festival. And all of a sudden, next thing I knew, I got a text from, so can you send us the link for where you can get tickets for that? I'm just like, yeah, I got you covered. Here's the link. And all of a sudden, got a text 5 minutes later. Yep, we got like 4 tickets for both days. We're set. We're ready to go. I'm like, yeah.
Nice. So are you also going to When We Were Young festival?
I'm not because the day after, so that Saturday, the first day we were young, the day after when we were hungry, I have to be back here in Milwaukee for one of my best friend's weddings where I'm not standing up in the wedding, but I am emceeing the reception.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the whole reason for them saying, Kevin, can you MC the reception? And it was like, well, why do I have to do it? Well, you talk on a microphone, you podcast, like, you'd be good at this. I'm like, okay, so now I have to, like, come up with, like, what do I have to actually do? Do I have to do introductions for the wedding party? Can I roast everyone as they come in? Can I make it, like,
that would be fucking hilarious. You just started roasting everyone. Just like, dude, what the hell?
Oh, I would start, well, the best part was, like, all the groomsmen are all my, like, really good friends, so it's like, I could roast every single one of them with so many different things.
Roast them all.
And now walking in at 5'9", that's what he told me to say, but he's really only 5'8".
Oh man.
So yeah, so my plan is for that one is, you know, of course I've got When We Were Hungry, but I want to make sure that that's the best festival possible. So whatever I have to do it, and then just leave early on Saturday. If I don't get enough sleep, screw it. I'm gonna have to try and sleep on a plane. Then I don't know how it's gonna work, but it'll work.
Yeah. Sleep on the flight. That's what I do, man. I just sleep on flights.
I still can't. It's so weird, like trying to like sleep while sitting up or like trying to like get any sort of like comfort position. I
have gotten better at it, but not by choice. I travel so much now that on nights before I travel, I stay up working on like music and things like that. So that I, have everything done, but I don't sleep. And so by the time I get to the airport, I'm exhausted. I just pass right out the moment the plane goes into the air. It happens to me every time now.
Shit, that's actually a really good idea.
I just work myself into exhaustion. I get on the plane, I just pass out.
I'm gonna have to like gamble myself into exhaustion with you guys on Friday night. All of a sudden it's like, okay, like 4 a.m. on Saturday. Alrighty, I gotta go back to my hotel, grab my shit, go to the airport. I gotta be on a flight at 6 already.
Yeah.
Shit, I'll see you guys later.
Tire yourself the fuck out.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden land in like Chicago, have someone come pick me up to drive me back to Milwaukee, and just like, okay, I'm gonna sleep in the car, but once you guys drop me off at my house, literally I've got like 10 minutes to like shower, change, and chug like 3 Red Bulls to get to this fucking wedding.
Then it's go time.
oh, trust me, it's gonna be go time. And all of a sudden, well, it's even funnier too, is like I just thought of this. I'm like, you know what? Just so we're talking about this, because as they're making me do like MC the wedding, they're also giving me control of the music, which is very, very something. I was like, you guys really want to do this with me? Because you guys don't know I'm gonna play. So now all of a sudden, they're gonna have their playlist set up, and all of a sudden be like, I'm slipping a varsity song in here.
Just play Lovesick. Everyone loves Lovesick. Be like, oh, it's a love song for you guys. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I'll be like, yeah. Put Lovesick. It'll be good. Don't worry about that. Yeah. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, now we need to bring the party up a little bit. Let's play some Hype by Electric Callboy. Let's have some fun there.
Oh my God, I love that song.
Have you listened to like the new stuff they've come out with? Because I know this episode might come out after their album releases on the 9th, but like, have you listened to all the singles so far that they've come out with?
Listen to every single that they've come out with so far.
Alrighty, because I think it's Hypa, We Got the Moves, Pump It, Spaceman, Fuckboy, and then the Huracan one that they just. So out of those 6, which one is your favorite out of those 6?
God, I'm not even sure. Probably Pump. No. Is it? Probably Pump It.
Just get that gym vibe. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna be going to the gym.
You know what it is? I like their visuals with the like. I like their music videos, like everything they do, like just the whole like satiric aspect to everything. Because you listen to the song, you're like, the song is sick, and then you watch the video and you're like, holy shit, this makes everything so much better. So much better. I'm gonna go with that one. Final, yeah. I'm gonna just go with the final answer.
Well, I mean, any answer was gonna be the correct answer. So yeah, you win the $1 million. Yeah.
Which one's your favorite?
Personally, my favorite is We Got the Moves, just because of how ridiculous it works. Like all of a sudden, you just
probably second for me.
I'll say the one that threw me off they've all thrown me off like complete like. Because I listened to, I think it was We Got the Moves. No, I listened to Pump It first. I'm like, this is just absolutely ridiculous. Then I went to We Got the Moves. I'm like, okay, this is like definitely my favorite. Hype. I'm like, how the fuck do these guys do? Like, I'm blown away.
Hype was like a really interesting song.
Oh, absolutely. So then Spaceman comes and I show it to one of my friends. I'm like, I show it to her and she watches about 5 little kids every single day. And she showed Spaceman to them, and it's become like their favorite song. Like, showed them the music video and everything. I'm like, so we go, all of a sudden now we get German rap and party metal at the exact same time. Then they go pop punk with Conquer Divide on Fuck. I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, this is great.
That song was sick. I'm not like the biggest like pop punk fan, but that song was sick.
I just couldn't believe they did a whole entire blend where it wasn't like, you know, a feature of like just the vocalist from Conquer. It wasn't just Kia features. Like, they literally had like a collaboration for the whole entire band. It was, I couldn't believe it.
They made it work. It was cool when they did it, because normally you just have like a feature. These people have both bands, like just full bands in it. And I'm like, this is so sick. This is crazy.
Oh, it was
reminded me of you ever seen Scott Pilgrim?
Yeah.
When the two bands are like the battle of the bands and they're going head to head. It kind of reminded me of that in a way. I was like, this is kind of sick.
I know exactly what you're talking about. And it makes total sense but I remember Scott Pilgrim was like 2 different styles too for bands. But this time it was like, you know, again, 2 bands that I think they don't really play pop punk, but all of a sudden now they're doing a skate punk, pop punk track, and it absolutely worked. And then of course now they got the other last thing they came out with was Huracan, when I'm like, you get like that like German like, I forgot what they called it, but it was like, okay, this is kind of violent. I was watching the music video, I'm like, they've got the worst spray tans of all time going on the music video. But it was hysterical. I loved every second. And then all of a sudden they go from like this like classic, like, you know, nice, just easy listening music with a beat like to deathcore. I was like,
it's like house and then deathcore, and it's like, what the hell?
And I couldn't stop laughing. I'm like, this is a band I can't wait to see play.
But it's done really well, man. I mean, they're doing that tour with Attack now, right? Or it's like coming up soon.
Yeah, it's gonna be in October. And a little bit in November. So it's them, Attack, Outline in Color, and the opener is actually Conquer Divide. So when they play Fuckboy, they might actually bring out all of Conquer Divide to play it.
That would be sick.
So if you're looking to go to a show and you can make it happen, I suggest it.
Yeah, that one's gonna be sick. I still haven't seen Attack live since they've come back, and I really gotta watch them.
Now let me ask you this question. So, you know, you guys you're gonna be playing shows as well, but I know you like to go to shows at the same time. As it stands for like the rest of the year, like, is there one show that you're like, I cannot miss? Like, I gotta go and see this. That's not When We Were Hungry. We already talked about that one enough.
So I know Nonpoint is coming back up here in September with Seven Dust. And so I'm definitely going to that. As for the rest of the year, Dayseeker's doing something. They just announced something. Forgot who's on it.
Was that the Bad Omens one?
Yeah, the Dayseeker Bad Omens one.
Dayseeker Bad Omens, Make Them Suffer, and I can't remember who the other one is.
I don't remember who the other band was, but I remember that I always go see Dayseeker anyway. Roy's like one of my good friends, And so anytime they're in town, like I go see them. But like now you have Make Them Suffer and also Bad Omens, and I'm like, this is I have to see this. Aside from that, I don't really know. Shows I catch on to shows really late. Like, and by late I mean like a week before the show actually happens. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm going to the show. So I think I saw the band I really want to see for the year though, which oddly enough is Unprocessed. Have you ever heard of this band?
I have not.
Okay. They're like Polyphia, but with vocals. And they also have heavier songs.
Oh.
It's crazy. I've been a fan of theirs for a while, and they were on tour now with Polyphia. And so I was like, cool, definitely have to go see them. So there's that. Actually, there is one show that I have to absolutely see. And it is Nothing More in This Moment and Sleep Token. There's no way I'm missing that tour, because if I don't see Sleep Token, I will fucking quit music. Like, I don't care. I will quit music. I love this band to death.
Please, Joey, don't quit music. Please go see Sleep Token. For the love of God, please go see them.
I have to see that. I have to see that band. Period.
Unfortunately, I have to miss Sleep Token and that whole entire tour because that is the day after when we were hungry, when they're here in Milwaukee, and that's the day of my buddy's wedding.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna miss the whole thing.
I noticed that the tour is like pretty long, but the dates that are here, the Jersey date is like right before we head out for like our headliner. So I'm like, oh, sick. It's like a couple of days before, so I'm like, this works out perfect.
Oh, that works out perfect. I mean, you're gonna literally go and see Sleep Token. You're gonna just get your mind blown, and then of course go enjoy Nothing More. And in this moment, and then it's like, alrighty, now you're gonna be feeling like all hyped up and everything. And now it's time for your headlining run.
Time for our headlining run. Like, oh man, here we go.
Oh, that's gonna be nuts. That's gonna be something insane. That that's gonna, again, after seeing that, think about this, everybody that's listening to the podcast. After Joey's gonna get to see Sleep Token, then he's gonna get to go out on the road and do his own headlining stuff. The inspiration, the motivation, the adrenaline is just going to be flowing through you, man. Like, no one's going to want to miss you performing live at this point.
Well, hopefully. We're on purpose. We're playing like small venues. So our agent asked, it was like, hey, so what kind of venues do you want to book? And I literally was like, book the small ones. And he was like, why? And I'm like, I don't want a lot of people there. If it's our first headline, I want to do something where I can interact with everyone. Something where it's like 200, 250 kids will probably be just like perfect for us. Because I feel like that's the perfect number to where I can still play the show and still get to meet everyone. Like, there are some shows we played in Knoxville with 10 Years. And I think it was Knoxville or Memphis, one of the two. And they drew, I think it was like 600 kids. And I struggled so hard to talk to everyone because there was so many people there that I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't talk to everyone because the venue's closing and there's not enough time. So for our first headline, I was like, yeah, I want to do small venues. I want to be able to give people, an experience. Like, I want you to show up. Maybe we'll just show up early and we'll just say, hey, we're going to play acoustics for you guys and like the front of the venue or some shit like that and hang out with you guys before the show. Go in the show, have a couple of drinks, you guys play the show. Afterwards, we can sign all your stuff, take pictures, and then off to the next city,
Alrighty, so when that tour announcement comes out, I got to make sure I look at the whole entire thing. Like, okay, where are they going to be close to me? Because all of a sudden, I have to take the day off of work and just be like, "What's up, Joey? How's it going?"
Well, you let me know, man. I'll put you on the list. Don't even worry about it.
I'll come like hand like this, can of Blue Moon. Like, here you go, sir.
Here you go, sir. Blue Moon.
I remember that on Green Bay because I was like, what? You said, get me whatever you want. I'm like, what the hell am I supposed to get him? I'm like, I don't want to go cheap on Joey. Like, I like this guy, so Blue Moon.
So funny, you got the Blue Moon, and I'm like, this is the correct beer. This is my favorite beer. I'm like, that's so crazy.
When you said that, I lost it.
Yeah, most people would just get like a Corona or like a Bud Light or something like that, which, I'll drink. I enjoy them. But you got like a Blue Moon, and I'm like, that's crazy because I love Blue Moon.
Oh man, like when you said that, I just like, my mind was like, how did I know to pick fucking Blue Moon? Like, out of every beer that was there, I'm like, I could have picked anything, but I'm like, no. Blue Moon seems like the right choice for some random reason, so we're going with that.
It was the right choice. It was 180% the right choice.
So now it's like I'm gonna be just have it in my mind, like all of a sudden, here's your or I'll do what I did with because in April when Dayseeker had their headlining run, I did this with the band Caskets because Caskets was opening up for them, and I'd had him on the podcast twice. It was like, I'm like, yeah, I told you guys I owe you the first round, right? They're like, yeah, so you want to get some beer? I'm like, no, I'm not getting you beer here. I've got a case of like beer in my trunk specifically for you guys. So after the show, like their vans were parked outside. So I walked to my car, grabbed the beer, walked back to the van, knocked on the door with the knock they had, and there was only one guy from Caskets that was actually in the van. He was in the bathroom at the time.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it was all holding absence. They're like, who the fuck are you? I'm like, I'm the beer man. They're like, come on in, man.
Dude, the holding absence dudes are like, I just started speaking to Lucas. I want to say like maybe like a week ago or something like that. Fucking love their music. I was talking to him about doing a feature for our next record. We were just like hammering things out, and I'm like, let's see if we can get this to work, you know?
Dude, if you got Lucas to do a feature on your next record, my God, that'd be perfect. Just thinking about his vocal style, what he's able to do with it, seeing how it meshed with their like split EP with Alpha Wolf, seeing how it meshed with that, and then thinking about how it would mesh with your vocal style and with VRSTY style, that would be one hell of a feature to go for, man. Like,
we have
definitely
there's a couple of features on the next record that I feel like there's one specifically that people are gonna be like, that's fucking weird because that guy's just a screamer, but that's wild that you have him on it. I'm like, I don't care. It's one of my favorite vocalists, and I want him on it. And there's a couple of other features that I think people were probably gonna look at and be like, that's insane that like that's the feature guy, because the last record they had like one feature.
Yeah, you had the feature with Notions on Finesse, and that was it.
Everything else we kind of just did it ourselves, but for this one, now I'm like, well, I want to have some more features. I want to have some of my friends on like some songs and stuff like that. So gonna do that. And I got some pretty interesting features for like some of these songs.
Okay, so you already told me about potentially having Lucas on there. Dare I ask who the other features are? You're gonna be like, nah, can't tell you yet. You gotta wait.
Can't tell you.
That's what I thought you were gonna say. So that's the only time I was gonna ask about it.
Yeah, I've been working on this so hard. I'm just like, there's one specific feature that I'm like, I'm in the middle of it, but like we haven't like quite nailed it yet. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna get this. Don't worry, we're gonna get this.
Dude, you'll get it, man. I mean, like I introduced you, like one of the hardest working guys I know in rock and metal. Like, you're gonna end up making this happen. It's just, you're gonna exhaust as many options as possible till you find the best one that you're gonna work with. You're gonna find what's gonna mesh, and it's gonna be fantastic.
Oh yeah, 180%.
Especially, and then you talk about, bringing on someone that's like just a straight screamer. I'm like, oh God, okay.
Yeah,
so
I have one of the features is like, I guess the band is like, it's like a prog metal. It's not maybe not prog metal. It's like God, it's heavy. They're a Sumerian Records band. They're fucking heavy, but it's weird because like when I met them recently, I met all the members, and I'm like, yo, like you should do a feature for like one of my songs. It was like, yo, I love your band. I'm like, you listen to my shit? They're like, yeah. So I'm like, cool, let's figure out how to do this, because I love God, I love that band. So
that might be the best way to go about it. It's like, shit, man, we love your band. Let's do a feature. Oh, yes, let's do it.
It's crazy, like when you realize you're a fan of a band, but they're also a fan of your music, and I'm like, that's crazy. You listen to my music. That's insane.
And especially with your style of music and what you've come up with VRSTY, I feel like you're going to be just seeing more and more of that and getting more and more of that from all these different bands that you've listened to and are fans of as you continue to go along. I mean, you're probably going to get that as Shiprocked next year, just as a fan. All of a sudden, you're going to be seeing these bands like, hey, man, I love your music. And be like, dude, no. We love your music. Are you fucking kidding me, man?
Oh, like, I hope so, man. Like, this next record is fucking weird. It's like really, really weird.
Weird in what way, though?
It's like, it's very dark. It's like the last record was not dark in the sense of like, it was like sad, I guess, or I don't know what the mood for it was. Really, it was kind of all over the place, which was fine, because I'm like, that's how I wanted it. This one is more, it's just way darker, and by darker I mean like the musical aspect of it is like dark. Like, we put violins and pianos and all types of like shit in the music that is like, that makes it sound evil. We literally have a song that sounds like, it's like if VRSTY and Ice Nine Kills had a baby, that's what that would sound like. Like, there's a song on there where I'm like, that's sick. it's just weird. There's one song that's like all like genty shit. It's like just heavy shit with like pop choruses, and I'm like, cool. This it's really, really, really weird. And it's funny because I've been teasing like some singles and stuff like that on like my IG and like the band's IG, and people are like, oh my god, I can't wait for this next record. And I'm like, none of these songs are on the record. Not a single one of these things I'm teasing are on the record. These are all just songs we're gonna give you. We're just gonna put them out so that you have new music from us. But the record is like something completely fucking different.
My God. So what? So I'm thinking about this. Like, people are liking the samples that you're putting out there, just like the teasers you're putting out there for music that's not even on the record. So you guys are gonna be putting this stuff out again, going on your own headlining run, and then the When We Were Hungry stuff. Who knows what other tours you're gonna get on in between that time? But just thinking about this, people are gonna be like getting, having Varsity in their mindset. It's gonna be constantly in the zeitgeist of the rock and metal culture. Then all of a sudden, you're gonna start coming out with the new record, and people are gonna be like, wait,
Yeah.
what just happened, and what the hell did we miss out on? Like, where did this come from?
It's a weird record. One of the songs on the record is like, one of them sounds like a punk rock Beartooth song, but has like, it's fucking weird, dude. One of the songs is just like a straight up, like, it's like post-hardcore Metallica. I'm just like, we'll just put like a bunch of riffs and shit and just kind of fucking like, just write something really thrashy. It's weird, but I'm like, I think the reason why I did that this time is because this record is based on a story I wrote. So I wrote, last one I just wrote a bunch of topics. This one, same thing, just topics, but I connected it into like a story. So I'm like, so this is a story I want to tell from point A to like point Z or whatever. And so I wrote the songs to fit the mood of what I was feeling at the time when I wrote it. And so the record is just like fucking weird, dude.
Dude, you're telling me all this shit, and I'm like, what? Can I get this record now? Because, okay, think about this. You're telling me that there's a track that's going to be like, okay, Varsity meets post-hardcore Metallica. Then there's going to be a track where it's like Varsity and Ice Nine Kills had a baby. And I fucking love Ice Nine Kills. So I'm like, my God.
This song literally, like, when you hear it, it's like, that could have been an Ice Nine Kills song, but it's a Varsity song. I'm like, yeah, it could have been.
God damn. And then you're telling me, potential punk rock plus Beartooth plus Varsity. I'm like, so I'm going to get like energetic, super energetic, like Rise Against style Varsity. I'm like, what the actual?
Yeah, it's actually kind of like that. It's like the song is called Kill. So the song is called Kill the Rich. It's actually inspired by like lyrically kind of like inspired by like the politicalness of like Rise Against and stuff. Cause I just love that stuff. And I at one point in the story, which the story is based on me, like it's me thinking about like life and, obviously life in like the middle class or the poor class or wherever the fuck you consider yourself, or what I consider myself, and like just going through Instagram and looking at all these things that make me feel like shit and blah, blah, blah. And one day I'm just like, I'm going to kill the rich. And I wrote this fucking song. And when I turned it into my label, they're like, I remember my A&R guy called me and he was like, dude, the song is sick. Like, I fucking love the song. It's so different, blah, blah. And then he goes, just one thing. And I'm like, yeah. He's like, did you say that you were going to kill rich people? Like, or am I hearing this correct? I'm like, yeah. And he was like, is this like a demo lyric or like, and I was like, no, this is the final lyric. Like, I want to put this in the song because the song is like, it's not political, but it's like, it has those little tidbits in it. Whereas like, I feel this way because I'm at the bottom. And the people at the top have me feeling this way. So if I kill everyone at the top, I won't feel like shit anymore. So it's crazy. It's crazy even just talking about it to you, because thinking about it as I'm speaking about it, I'm like, yeah, this song is kind of insane to put out.
Dude, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this, because this is where I'm thinking right now. I'm thinking it's a Varsity track with the energy of Beartooth, with the political kind of punk rockness that Rise Against brings, but with the brash upfrontness of a band like Anti-Flag, all rolled into one. I'm just like,
yeah, pretty much.
How in the fuck?
It's funny, guy. Every time I showed someone that song, they're like, "This is a Varsity song," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "I guess." I wrote it, so I guess it is.
Well, even like just taking a look, when I did the whole entire me trying to figure you guys out and listening to the 3 EPs going through there, and then of course listening to Welcome Home, it's like there's definitely an evolution of style there. So it does bring forward, like, you guys can do as much as you want. Like, you guys can go in any direction, and I'm not going to be surprised by it or thrown completely off by it. There's going to be some of those features I'm probably going to look on there and be like if you're going to do one with Lucas from Holy Naps, and be like, okay, now that kind of flow makes sense.
Yeah.
But doing one with, what you said, like, with someone that just basically screams, I'm just gonna be like, how in the fuck is this gonna work? Else I'm gonna listen to it. You're probably gonna get a text from me like, yep, that worked.
Dude, it's funny. There's a couple of songs on the record that's like mostly screaming. And every time I showed it to someone, they're like, yo, I don't know why that works, but that works. There's one very specific song on the record that I am like super fucking in love with. It kind of, there's a feature on that song. It's kind of like VRSTY meets Deftones, but in like, it's heavy and it's weird. And like, there's all these odd time signatures and all this other shit in it, but it's like a very simple, straightforward song. It just has like a bunch of weird shit in it. And I feel like that's a song that I want to put out first, because every time, that's another one I show it to people and they're like, I don't even know how to describe this. I'm like, yeah, it's weird, but
I think when you were like start working on like, do the release schedule for this record, like you got to start out with something that people aren't really expecting. So all of a sudden, when it comes down to it, it's like, when it comes to, the expectations for the record, especially from the, the fan and the music listener perspective, if you start out with something different but works, now as a fan, we're going to be expecting, okay, what's going to come next? Because we're not going to be expecting the same thing. Like, we're not going to be on our, we're not going to be on our heels. We're going to be on our toes, waiting for the next thing and anticipating something that's going to be even still different. Still have the VRSTY feel to it, but we're going to be anticipating what comes next.
Yeah, it's cool this time because I feel like I loved Welcome Home, but more of my influence went into this record than it went into Welcome Home. Because with Welcome Home, I was still trying to figure stuff out. With this record, I'm still figuring things out, but I'm enjoying it more. Like, and I know that's probably a bad thing to say because it's not that I didn't enjoy Welcome Home, but as a brand new band in the industry, there was like a little more pressure on Welcome Home. Whereas like with this one, I'm just having fun writing shit and more of like my influences coming out. And I'm like sick. I'm really enjoying this record.
So it's kind of like one thing, people have talked about, especially in the music industry, kind of like that sophomore record. It's like, okay, band comes out with a debut record, debut LP. All of a sudden it goes really well. And all of a sudden like the sophomore record comes out and there's always like that kind of term, the sophomore slump, just because it's like, okay, now you don't have as much time to work on it. You got to go to that release schedule kind of thing. But with you, it seems like, that first record came out. It was kind of your, okay, we're getting this out. We're showing everyone what VRSTY is and can be. But now this next one, it's like, alrighty, we got that first one past us. We're in this comfort zone of we're able to do what we want. Let's have some fun with this. Let's just go fucking nuts.
Yeah, like that. And that was exactly it. When I got the call on my label, it was like, oh, we want you to start the next record. I was already writing stuff for it. So I'm like, well, I have half of it done. And they're like, oh, cool. So I was like, so how much time do you need? I'm like, well, how much time are you going to give me? And they were like, oh, we were going to give you like the summer. And I'm like, cool. If you give me the whole summer, I'll probably have like 30 songs to you. And then we'll pick from there. And I started turning in songs and they're like, dude, this is very fucking interesting. I'm like, I'm having like a lot of fun writing this time. Like Welcome Home was cool. I had a lot of fun writing it. This one I'm having way more fun. Like obviously I have some songs that like feel more like Octane radio songs because I'm still a fan of Octane music and I like big catchy hooks and I'm a singer. So I'm like, this is the kind of stuff I love. But there's certain songs that I'm just like, nah, I've always wanted to try this style or that style or this. And so I'm gonna do it with this record. So
just hearing you talk about this record and hearing you talk about just having fun with it, the influences coming out of it, there is a band that is starting to like, that's just peeking in my head and it's like, holy shit, this is starting to get me feeling like this band, especially when they released their Blast record, given just kind of a little bit different style from what they previously came out with and seeing how everyone reacted to it. And I'm not sure if you know where I'm going with this, but I'm going it right here. You're giving me vibes from like Bad Omens when they released their record this year. And look at what has happened with that. It's just, the record is different from their first two, but you listen to, you hear Noah Sebastian talk about it. He's like, this is what I would have loved to have people like as their introduction to Bad Omens. Like, he had more fun writing that record. Like, this is more of what he wants to do. It's like, now you're seeing what's going on with them. I mean, hell, they had the run with Under Oath at the beginning of the year because Every Time I Die had to drop out. Then all of a sudden, they went on with I forget who else. I think they went with In This Moment. Then they were playing arena shows with fucking Beartooth and A Day to Remember. And I saw one of those and it was fucking awesome. And now they're gonna go on their own fucking headlining run. It's
you
like,
have to have fun writing your record, or you just like, what are you doing? If you're not having fun writing your record, don't write a fucking record. Like, it doesn't make any sense at that point.
dude, you're giving me the vibes of like Bad Omens really hit their stride in 2022. You're giving me the vibes of like VRSTY's gonna be that band in 2023 right now. Like, you're giving me that feeling right now.
It's definitely gonna be a different record. So hopefully people like it,
Man, I'm gonna be excited for when it comes out, and excited to see you guys potentially on this headline run if you're coming close to me. But at the very least, we're gonna hang out when We Were Hungry. I'm gonna see you perform live. We're gonna have a blast, and who knows? We'll probably be out gambling until 7 a.m. anyway. And be like, ah, shit, fuck.
We're just gonna party. Come back to day 2. Like, all right, ready.
Party, come back to day 2 already. All of a sudden, instead of me bringing everyone like beer, I'm just gonna be, have like 2 cases of Red Bull. All of a sudden, it's like, already everyone that I was like out with yesterday.
Everyone take a Red Bull right now. We're all.
I'd be like, Oprah, you get a Red Bull. You get a Red Bull. Everybody gets Red Bulls.
Oh man, the Red Bull man.
Oh, it's gonna be awesome. Well, Joey, as we bring this podcast to conclusion, I love to give you a chance to say whatever you want to say, plug whatever you want to plug, promote whatever you want to promote at the end of the podcast. So, my friend, the floor is yours.
We got new music coming out, so just be on the lookout for that. And then we got some tours, and then a record. So, be patient. It's coming.
Be patient, and you know what to do in that instance. You're going to want to make sure you're following along with VRSTY on everything, from all their social medias, being a part of the Facebook group. Yes, I'm a part of that Facebook group as well, the VRSTY. It's going to be in the description of the podcast for you to check out all their socials, get in contact with them, watch all their music videos, stream all their music, so then, and make sure you're following along with everything so that you are ready for these tours. You're ready for this next record, because if I'm saying it's getting, this is giving me vibes of like what I felt like with Bad Omens up when they were running up to the release of Death of Peace of Mind, and seeing how that turned out. My God, like, you're gonna want to be a part of this. So hell yeah, like, you're gonna want to be a part of this. All right, Joey, and also time for number 2. Last couple times I did the podcast, remember I made you the promise of first rounds on me. Well, running it back again, my friend. Either at one of those headlining days or at When We Were Hungry. One of the two. It's going to happen either or.
Yeah. It's on.
It'll be Blue Moon once again. If not, I'm going to have to think of something else. And as we close this out for number 3, my friend, this is not goodbye, because we got to do this again, of course. And I'll be seeing you at the very least at When We Were Hungry. So this can't be goodbye, my friend. This, of course, is I'll see you later. Yeah. Well, folks, that's my interview with Joey Varela from the band VRSTY. Once again, they'll be going on their own little headlining run before When We Were Hungry. They've also got new music coming out, and that new record that they're teasing, my God, that's giving me that Bad Omens, at the Peace of Mind vibes. Not in terms of style, but in terms of you're not ready for this shit, but it's going to be fucking awesome, and you're going to love it. So, make sure to follow along with VRSTY on all social media. You make sure you're watching YouTube videos. Make sure you're subscribed to like anything they got on streaming platforms. You're not going to want to miss out on any of this stuff. Get those tickets from We Were Hungry to go see them. You want to know how you can do all that and do it easily? Link is in the description of the podcast. Hey, find VRSTY online. Everything is going to be there. Don't miss out on it. Also, make sure you're following along with the Chord Progression Podcast. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can subscribe to the podcast, which I ask you to do on YouTube, Spell Podcast, iHeart Radio, Amazon, and wherever else you may be subscribing, because, my God, like, we're everywhere somehow. This place I don't even know we are, but we're there. And it's going to be freaking awesome. And you're not going to miss any of the episodes. If you're already subscribed, a gigantic thank you to you for supporting this podcast. I mean, I love doing this stuff. It's what gives me energy. It's what gives me life. So thank you for doing that. Also, if you're just subscribing right now, thank you as well. You are now a part of that. If you're just here like, I like this, but I don't want to subscribe right now, I'm first going to ask you to reconsider. If not, I still want to thank you for stopping by and enjoying this podcast. And you're welcome back anytime in the future. So again, please subscribe. Also, thank you to our support for this podcast. First off, Manscaped, 20% and free shipping. Use code CPP at checkout. And also get your tickets for When We Were Hungry Music Festival, which we are sponsoring October 20th and 21st in Las Vegas. I've added tickets on sale now. WeWereHungryFestival.com, link description of the podcast. Thank you, Joey, one of my favorite people to ever have on the podcast. One of my top 5 favorite guests, which include Jonathan Norris from Kingdom Collapse, the guys in caskets, the girls at GFM, Joey Arena from Outlier, and Joey Varela from VRSTY. Again, no in particular order because they're all fantastic. So make sure you get your tickets from We Were Hungry. Go see Joey perform live. Come mosh with me in the pit. We're going to have pancakes. Oh, yeah. And on that note, that's going to be for me, guys. Thank you for watching. Listen to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. So the big, healthy, and hearty. See ya! Yeah!